U.S. Customs and Border Protection intercepted nearly 20,000 fake licenses around the time the intelligence was coming in. So they had the intel that the Chinese were trying to steal the election for their boy Joe. They had information, literally they had caught the Chinese sending in fake driver's licenses. And what did they do? They buried it. So we had a significant news development this week as a result of the partial disclosure of information by the FBI under Kash Patel. Now, you've heard me criticize the FBI under his direction not being transparent enough, but it doesn't mean he's never transparent. And he uncovered some new documents hidden by the FBI about an alleged Chinese plot to rig the election on behalf of Joe Biden in 2020. Now remember, the Justice Department under Bob Barr or Bill Barr, he didn't want to even talk about any of this. And, anyone who raised these types of issues were censored or pushed out. So our friends at Just the News, you may know John Solomon, I've been on his show many times, reports FBI gave Congress intel on alleged Chinese plot to create fake mail-in ballots in 2020. Patel turned over to Congress an intelligence report raising concerns that China had mass-produced fake driver's licenses to carry out a scheme to hijack the 2020 election with fake mail-in ballots for Democrat Joe Biden. The intelligence reports were from 2020 and were corroborated or fully investigated, weren't corroborated or fully investigated. So they got the information and they didn't bother to follow up in a substantial way. And instead were recalled from intelligence agencies at that time by then FBI Director Chris Wray, who, by the way, then had testified there were no known plots of foreign interference ahead of the 2020 election in which Biden defeated President Trump. And the documents were turned over by Kash to Chuck Grassley, who runs the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. The allegations include plans from the CCP to manufacture fake driver's licenses and ship them into the United States for the purposes of facilitating fraudulent mail-in ballots, allegations which, while substantiated, were abruptly recalled and never disclosed to the public. And you know how they were substantiated or corroborated? U.S. Customs and Border Protection intercepted nearly 20,000 fake licenses around the time the intelligence was coming in. So they had the intel that the Chinese were trying to steal the election for their boy Joe. They had information, literally they had caught the Chinese sending in fake driver's licenses. And what did they do? They buried it. Not only did they bury it, they said to their colleagues in the intelligence community that had seen the initial intelligence report, take it out of your system and delete it. So not only did they bury it, they destroyed it. You can be sure this was responsive to numerous Judicial Watch FOIA lawsuits or requests. And I'm glad Kash has turned it over to Chuck Grassley, but none of us have seen the documents yet. And in response to Kash's tweet promoting this, I asked him, it's great, it's an important development. Now, when are the American people going to see this information? It's declassified. Where are the documents? And of course, President Trump is feeling vindicated and outraged at the same time by further confirmation, justifying questioning the results of the 2020 election. Now, do I know what happened as a result of this plot? I don't. But no one investigated it, so why can't we, or shouldn't we, presume the worst and be very worried about it? And President Trump tweeted the following, or issued the following post on Truth Social. 0 border crossings for the month for Trump versus 60,000 for sleepy, crooked Joe Biden, a man who lost the 2020 presidential election by a landslide. Biden was grossly incompetent and the 2020 election was a total fraud. The evidence is massive and overwhelming. A special prosecutor must be appointed. This cannot be allowed to happen again in the United States of America, etc. So what should happen with a special prosecutor? I believe a special prosecutor should be appointed as well for not only 2020, but a variety of reasons. And if I were President Trump, I would do the following. I'd appoint the prosecutor myself. He's the president. The founders understood the president was the prosecutor in chief. And I don't think he can or should rely on the Justice Department and the FBI to investigate this. Again, this is further evidence. This China cover-up is further evidence the FBI can't be trusted. The FBI has to be investigated, and the FBI can't investigate the FBI. I'm sorry. It's Cash and Dan Bongino could be the best people in the world, and I trust their ethics and such, but they can't investigate their own agency like that. They just can't. They're not going to be able to find the people in the agency they can trust to get it done. It's just a practical issue. Plus, the public has a right to an uncompromised or unconflicted investigation. And I got some good language here I want to share with you before my phone dies. As chief executive magistrate, the president can not only make the special prosecution appointment that I suggest, but authorize the creation of a special investigative unit comprised of appropriate personnel. So what he can do, and this is President Washington ran prosecutions, President Jefferson ran prosecutions, President Madison, they all ran prosecutions in the beginning of the country. Because if you're the chief executive officer, you're necessarily the chief magistrate and chief prosecutor. So what he should do is pick someone he wants to be special prosecutor or an entity. Some have suggested Judicial Watch be appointed special prosecutor. He could do worse. I'm not saying we would do it or could do it, but I'm making the point. And Judicial Watch or whoever he appoints could run the special unit reporting directly to President Trump, and they could be supported with staff from outside the DOJ and FBI, plenty of law enforcement agencies or officials or officers capable of providing support who aren't FBI agents or Justice Department agents. Like the Postal Inspection Service, they've got a bunch of good guys over there. You got Homeland Security, they have an investigative unit. Also, the same goes for a lot of these other big agencies. U.S. Marshals, I guess that's DOJ, but maybe they're distinct enough that you can have individual U.S. Marshals provide support. And of course, they can just hire outsiders to do it. They can hire retired law enforcement, local law enforcement, to investigate anything the president wants investigated under law. Now, of course, the law still protects those who are targets of any investigation. So if there's any serious criminal investigation, any target or witness, they still have all their rights under law. So this is not a lawless investigation. This is a constitutional investigation. And the president can make decisions about what to prosecute, what to investigate, who to ask, who to charge, whether to charge. And of course, he can seek advice and counsel from his attorney general as to the propriety of such investigations or prosecutions in the end, but it's only advice. Let's put it this way. If President Trump wanted to prosecute the case himself in a court, he could. And I don't say that to mean that President Trump should prosecute a case himself in court, however interesting that might be. But I'm highlighting the scope and expansive reach of his power as president to run federal prosecutions. The founders did it, and that's good enough for me. in terms of providing a basis for him to do it, and it flows naturally from the Constitution. So don't wait for the Attorney General to appoint a special counsel. Just do it yourself. Because a special counsel, again, is a creature of the Justice Department and all the conflicts that Justice Department has, and again, in investigating itself. Because they don't bring in people from the outside. Most of the special counsel staff are typically DOJ detailees. So that's how I would handle the 2020 issues, the lawfare against Trump, the censorship, the border invasion, the Biden corruption, the pardons. I'd have a special prosecutorial public integrity unit, government integrity unit, accountability unit. Let's come up with great names for it, right? Let's figure out what, and I'm sure Trump will have the best name in the end, given his marketing genius in that regard, and get it done, because time's running out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.